standards, because you have professional management, and they will try and bring all the airports up to speed of what is expected internationally to be part of the criteria set by the government. Now, all of these things are things that can be done, in such a way to reduce the cost of governance, and then achieve in the process, the desired results of efficiencies, growth, and the rest of it. So it's all about policies and policy objectives. What are we trying to achieve, and how are we going about it? So these are the fundamentals I think the government needs to have a critical look at to see how these things can be done differently.
All right, and still talking about the duplication of duties and several agencies in the industry, we also have a situation whereby when you travel out of the country, you would encounter all manners of checks and questioning done by different agencies. And isn't it possible to have one single agency do all these checks?
Well, again, it's a matter of choice. I think part of the things that we have as a country looked at is everybody in Nigeria, unfortunately, wants to be relevant. The relevance issue is one of the major concerns that the government needs to deal with. Now, yes, we do need to have most of those agencies at the airport, but I do not have any reason to see why they all be seated at the check-in point, at the security checkpoints. It's not necessary. Now, overseas, in most countries that I know, you find all of these agencies at the airport, but you don't even see them. Now, every major airport in the world has what you call an operations control center. Now, from the operations control center, information is passed back and forth from the security checkpoints, so that when they see people of dubious character, so to speak, based on profiling, they can alert the security operatives at the security checkpoints to say, look, there's a particular person coming dressed in this form, carrying this, whatever it is. Can you please double check on this person? Because they've done the profiling in the background. They could see that person, because that person is not even aware that they've been looked at, because everywhere is cameraed. That is what a Nigerian airport should be, with all these agencies being thrown into the control center, where they can coordinate their activities and cooperate, but not standing separately and pulling out. What you're doing essentially is creating bad facilitation at our airports. And I think it needs to be looked at in such a way. We're not saying throw everybody out. No, that's not what we're saying. They need to do a job, but that job can be done differently. And I think the interface with the public should be limited to the Aviation Security Corps. And my view is that all that needs to be done differently.
All right, let's take this final one. The aviation industry in Nigeria is mostly still for the elite. Why has this remained so over several years, despite the funds being pumped into that sector?
Again, we'll go back to the same problem, fundamental issues. Now, I'm an airline. I set up operations in Nigeria. There is absolutely no way I can make my fares affordable below my cost of operations. That's a fundamental. Now, my cost of operations actually include things like the counter at the airport. Now, if you go abroad, when you get a check-in counter at the airport, it is equipped complete for you to operate. But in Nigeria, when I get a counter, I get a desk, and I bring everything else there. My IT infrastructure and everything I bring to the counter. When you do that, I am increasing my cost of operations. Now, for me to cover those costs, I need to increase my fares. But assuming the facilities are put in place, again, we go back to the same issue of, do we bring in concession of airports to allow the professionals to deal with the matter? They will provide the service. And once that service is affordable, it reduces my operating costs, my fares can come down. Again, it's all about the business model of the airline, the cost of infrastructure, and everything else supporting it. If the cost of infrastructure is low, if it comes down, then I can see fares dropping in Nigeria. But it is achievable because we have numbers. 170 million Nigerians. If you take the Brazilian model, in Brazil about 14, 15 years ago, you had barely 10, 12 million passengers traveling. Today in Brazil, you have over 80 million Brazilians using air transportation on an annual basis. That is a fundamental step And everything Nigerian is Brazil. So we can do exactly the same things in Nigeria. That's essentially the way I look at it. So fundamentally, we need to address the policy. Once the policy, that's the foundation. Once it's solid, then you can put whatever edifice you want on it. And you can now start talking about a growth in the economy, per capita income and all the rest of it can grow, and everybody can have a better life.
All right. Fix the policies, put the right structures on ground, and then things can start looking better.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your views and comments. I will take a couple of them. And the first one here is from Vincent Scruze, and he says, the Boko Haram negotiation is not meant to release all the girls, but those that refuse to convert to Islam. That is what I believe they want to do. What do you think? Eugene Uchendu is asking, what are the conditions given by the Boko Haram sect? Thank you, Eugene, for that question. The sect is asking for the release of their members arrested by the security operatives in exchange for the release of the Chibok girls. Do you know that you can view the program on youtube.com/channelsweb/videos? You can make your comments after viewing the current video as well as old episodes of the program. Thank you for watching and see you next time.